I'm Sue Morrison, and welcome to the Union County Republican Women's Club to our state candidate forum this evening. We just are so excited that each and every one of you is here, and I know you're in for a great evening to get to meet and to know some of our candidates. To start off with, we want to really set the mood tonight. We have a very special guest tonight that's going to do that for us, Mr. Clint Reed, and he has some musical entertainment for us.
Children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American. Where at least I know I'm free, and I won't. Sue asked me to have another song, and so I was discussing that whenever it comes to politics, I often go to my father. My father, from a young age, all the way back, I remember in the late 80s, sitting there, and again, I was only in first grade, and I know this is the wrong candidate, but I remember crying in the first grade because Ray Mavis did not win re-election. And you know, my father, he was like, no, son, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that he didn't win re-election. I said, no, Daddy, that's not right. He was already the governor. My father he raised me on, of course, Elvis and Johnny Cash, but his favorite patriotic anthem was from Johnny Cash, and it's That Ragged Old Flag. Through an old county courthouse square, and on a park bench an old man was sitting there. I said, your old courthouse is kind of run down. He said, no, it'll do for our little town. I said, your old flagpole has leaned a little bit, and there's a ragged old flag he got hanging on it. He said, "Have a seat." Well, I sat down. "Is this the first time you've been in our little town?" I said, "I think it is." He said, "Well, you know, I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware, and it got a powder burn the night Francis Scott Key sat watching it writing, 'Oh, say, can you see?' And it got a bad rip in New Orleans with Packenham and Jackson tugging at its seams. And it almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on though. She got cut with a sword in Chancellorsville, and she got cut again in Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, and Bragg. Oh, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, well, she got a big hole from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low a time or two. Well, she was in Korea, Vietnam, and she went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. She waved from our ships upon the briny foam, and, well, now they've about quit waving her back here at home. In her own good land here, she's been abused. She's been burned, dishonored, denied, and refused. And the government for which she stands is scandalized throughout the land. And she's getting threadbare and wearing just a little thin. Oh, but she's in good shape for the shape she's in. Because she's been through the fire before, and I tell you, I believe she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, and we take her down every night. We don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her up just right. You know what? On second thought, I do like to brag, because I'm mighty proud of that ragged old flag. Now this last one is, Miss Sue told me, which I thought was a great thing. She said that this is a common tradition, I guess, with the Republicans Women's Club. And if everybody would join in on this is God Bless America. One. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we pray. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the nation that we are a part of. We're grateful for its founding. Father, we are grateful for its history. Father, we pray that you'll be with our president and bless and protect he and his family, our governor, and others who serve. We pray for each of these candidates, Father, that you will give them the capacity to express plainly and clearly their thoughts and their intents. Father, I pray that you'll help us, Lord, as voters, to become educated and to know what we ought to do. What we ought to do is to do the right thing and to follow your will. And Father, we thank you for men and women who are willing to serve and to give of their time and to give of their effort. We pray you'll bless their families and protect them as well. Protect all as they're on the road, as they travel much, and pray that you'll give them health that they need. And Father, again, we pray that you'll give them wisdom that they need as well. For we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
I present to you Dr. Jason Dees. He's our moderator for the forum tonight. To most of us, Jason needs no introduction. He's a family doctor who practices part-time at the hospital as a hospital medicine physician here at the Baptist Memorial Hospital. His full-time position is the National Senior Vice President of Marketplace for Molina Healthcare. Dr. Dees has served as the Interim Medical Director for the Mississippi Division of Medicaid. He currently chairs FAMMEDPAC, the Political Action Committee for the American Academy of Family Physicians, and has served on the Commission on Government Advocacy for the AAFP, or the American Academy of Family Physicians. Dr. Dees is magna cum laude graduate of Erskine College, graduated in the top 10 of his medical school class at the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine, completed his residency in Columbus, Georgia, and he completed a healthcare policy fellowship at the New York Institute of Technology. So without further ado, Jason will come forward and he will manage this forum for us. Thank you, Jason.
Well, thanks, Ms. Sue. Thanks for asking me to do this. I look forward to it. If I could get the candidates that are here for Northern District Transportation Commissioner to come sit in the 3 chairs to my left, please. I want to start by just explaining the format a little bit. We'll start with each candidate in the first 3 groups having a couple of minutes to introduce him or herself. And what I would ask during that time is that you tell us who you are, why you're running for the office, and if you have any unique ties to Union County. We'd like to hear about those as well. Then we will go through a series of questions. And the questions are set up in a bit of a town hall format. So the first question that I ask, the first person will get 2 minutes to answer that question, and then the other 2 candidates will get a minute to answer that question. And we will go through the list and give everybody a chance to go first. I also want to tell you a little bit about the questions. These all came from questions that were submitted to folks, and then they passed these on to me. I have taken them and wordsmithed them, pulled themes together. Some cases I just used the questions directly, but wanted to take as much time as we could to get right to the questions that were asked. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic off to the first candidate and ask him to introduce himself.
There's some unique ties, mostly family ties to New Albany, and my brother-in-law and sister and family that run the Super Saver Drugs down here, and some old family and friends that have been around here for a while, but nothing really unique, just family and friends. But I'm running for Transportation Commissioner because I really feel like we can make a difference. We're in a good opportunity to do something. You can sum my campaign up into 4 simple words: better roads, better jobs. And that's pretty much it. Then you got to look at the candidates. There's 5 of us in the race in the Republican primary, and they're all good Republicans, they're all good people, and you're going to have to choose which one do you think can do the most with the least. Who can make a difference better for you? It's that simple. I mean, you're the ones that are hiring us. So we're actually in a job interview of sorts. And I run as the county supervisor in DeSoto County. I've been there building roads, contracting for roads, taking care of basic maintenance as a little strange feedback, but that's okay. Besides the county supervisor position, I was the director of transportation for DeSoto County Schools, and was able to, lost it I think, okay. Anyway, as director of transportation, I was able to be a consumer of those roads as a CDL holder and find out what's happened when I have bridges that I can't get those children to school. So I know what it's like to feel your pain, and I like to get down to Jackson and hopefully make a difference in North Mississippi and get that money a little bit further than it's been getting in the past. So appreciate your vote, your consideration, and look forward to the questions tonight. Thank you for having me. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeremy Martin. I'm the only candidate in the race for Transportation Commissioner from Eggville, Mississippi. If you know where Tupelo is, that's our biggest suburb. And so to be back on the Rooster Network, the Hill Country Network, is really an honor for me, being from Egg. For the last 11 years, I have served Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann in his offices here in North Mississippi. We started an office in 2008 in Tupelo, one in 2009 in Hernando. For the last 3.5 years, I've been Assistant Secretary of State for North Mississippi, and it's been a distinct honor for me to work with him and for you for the last 11 years. The reason I'm running for this office is pretty simple. I believe that the lives of our families, our friends, and our neighbors are too important not to address the crumbling infrastructure that we have in the state of Mississippi. We need a visionary leader who looks for solutions, not excuses. We need a visionary leader who is set in his mind to ensure that we identify and secure a long-term funding source strictly for transportation infrastructure. Not just at the state level, but at the county level and the city level too. And that we make decisions each and every day when it comes to transportation that makes our roads safer for our public and North Mississippi more economically competitive in the future. Now, ties to Union County. I have no family ties to Union County, but let me say that there's no county that I mention more in my speeches than Union County. And there's a reason why. In each and every speech, I talk about the 1987 highway bill and the visionary leadership of Mayor and Representative Pennebaker that made that program such an incredible success for the entire state of Mississippi, but in particular North Mississippi. And so I want to continue the vision that he had, that he started back in the 70s and 80s, and continue it into the 21st century. I'm Jeremy Martin. I'd love to be your next Transportation Commissioner.
There's only one person in this room that calls me Yosti. That's him right there. I am Jeffrey Yost. I'm delighted to be here. I'm a candidate for Transportation Commissioner. I'm from Lafayette County. My ties to Union County are, I've been over here a lot of times for high school athletics, and I've lost more to the Bulldogs than I've won. It's always painful when the Chargers come over here. Played soccer at the Sportsplex. Faulkner's my hardest person to read, so that's another Union County, and you have the most outstanding president of Republican women in the state. You work so hard. Thank you for all you do. This is just an example of it. I'm running for Transportation Commissioner. I've had a lot of good leaders in my life that I've followed, and actually 2 of them are in this room. I served under General Bill Waller Jr. in the Guard, and I served under Governor Kirk Fordyce, and his chief of staff was Andy Taggart. Prior to that, I worked for Senator Trent Lott, worked transportation issues for the governor and for the senator, and it was a great honor. I retired from the Army Guard. I led, directed, and supervised soldiers. My final tour was teaching ROTC at Ole Miss. I recruited, trained, and commissioned lieutenants and sent them all over the globe to fight the war on terror. It's a great honor. It wasn't easy, but we did it. We got it done. I've spent the last 15 years in the private sector, making a living, support my family. I got a lot of gray hair. I've got 3 teenagers. God bless me. This opportunity came along. My friend Mike Taggart chose not to run for re-election for whatever reason. The more I run, I kind of realize this is a hard job. But my phone started ringing. I realized they wanted somebody from this part of the district to represent them. I put my name in the hat. I asked for your consideration. My name is Jeffrey Yost from Fayette County, and I appreciate it.
We'll start this in alphabetical order, and the first question will go to John Caldwell. He'll have 2 minutes to respond to this, and then the next 2 candidates will each have a minute to respond to the same question. And the first question is, it's been over 30 years since a significant road bridge package was enacted by the legislature. Please tell us how you would work with the legislature to pass a comprehensive infrastructure program, and then how you would prioritize the use of funds in the Northern District. So let me repeat the question. It's been 30 years since we had a significant road and bridge package, and I want you to tell us how you would work with the legislature to pass a comprehensive infrastructure program, and how you would prioritize the use of funds in the Northern District.
Thank you, and that's a good question, because that's what we're all here for. We all want to make a difference. And it is going to take a more comprehensive approach to what we're doing. Interesting that the question brought up the legislature, because they're the ones that are going to have to pass it, and we'll have to give them some good top cover and some experience some feedback that they're gonna need. But the first thing I can do as a transportation director is listen, not just to those representatives or those senators, but they're getting feedback from their constituents. There's people on the road that can make a difference. I like common sense solutions. And what I mean by common sense, when you pull up to an intersection and the grandchildren and the children and the parents and the grandparents all look at it with a puzzled look and say, why did they do that? That's common sense solution when they say, why don't they just move that road over? We might not even have to build a bridge. So if we listen to the people who live and work and drive those roads, then we can go to Jackson, to the people that are representing those people that live and work and drive those roads and make a difference. And we do need to do it in a comprehensive way. And my background, whether it's as a county supervisor or when I was in the Marine Corps as a colonel, we worked with all kinds of people. When I got elected as a county supervisor, I was the first and only Republican. So I can work with the Democrats, I can work with the independents. We all become Mississippians once the election's over. Pass it on down.
Thank you, John.
I love the question, Doc, because it is the most pivotal question that we're facing right now. And let me tell you what my plan is. My plan is pretty simple, but it's going to take a great deal of work. We need to build a coalition of stakeholders from around the state. Ag producers, manufacturers, supervisors, municipal leaders, education leaders who've rerouted buses because of closed bridges. And we need to bring them to the table as many times as we need to get them to find a long-term sustainable solution to the funding problem we have with transportation infrastructure. And then we need an articulate leader to take it to the people and sell it community by community all over North Mississippi, to take a lot of the pressure off the Mississippi legislature and put it on somebody else's back. And I am that person that's willing to do just that. It's the same thing we did in '87, and it's the same thing that'll work in 2020 and beyond. Real quick, priorities. I think the priorities for roads and bridges going forward have to be public safety, number one, and making North Mississippi more economically competitive, number two.
Is that counting this my time?
No.
It's a super good question. It's a super important question. In the special session, the legislature gave us $251 million to fix our roads and bridges. I've been to many events where they said, well, I fixed the bridges, I fixed the infrastructure problem, and we didn't raise your taxes one bit. Well, that was great red meat for that Republican group. But you know what? $251 million is an election year happy. They have not come up with a solution for a sustainable fix for our roads and bridges problem. It's the biggest problem that we have, and it needs to be addressed. I will sit down with the speaker, with the new lieutenant governor, who, by the way, will probably be the smartest guy in the Capitol. No offense, Robert and Bill Jr. But I plan to sit down with him and provide them with any assistance that we can give them, and work with those committee members, the chairman, to try to help come up with a sustainable solution. That's the only way we're going to fix it.
Very good. Second question, we'll start with Jeremy. And that question is, what unique skill set do you possess to allow you to be successful as our next Northern District Transportation Commissioner? Repeat the question. What unique skill set do you possess to allow you to be successful as our next Northern District Transportation Commissioner? You'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. For the past 11 years, I have put my skill set on display for all the folks in North Mississippi. First and foremost, I'm a coalition builder. And deep down in my heart, I like to bring people together from all walks of life, from all different perspectives, to find long-term solutions. I do not pretend for a moment to have all the answers to all the problems. I do believe I can bring all of the stakeholders to the table, bring the brightest minds in the state to the table, and find those long-term solutions. I believe we need a transportation commissioner who is persistent, determined to resolve the problems that we currently have with maintenance of our roads and take it to the next level and enhance our transportation infrastructure. One of the things that I look forward to mostly doing is building a vision for the 21st century for transportation. Not just with roads and bridges, but also with our ports and railroads and airports around the state of Mississippi. It's time for us to stop looking at ourselves as 50th best and start looking at ourselves as being the potential of being the best in the United States in every area, including transportation infrastructure. I'm that kind of leader, and I look forward to putting that to work for you. And finally, we need a transportation commissioner in North Mississippi that can articulate the message and sell the vision to our people. Far too long we've been downtrodden, and we've had leaders, especially in North Mississippi, who've made apologies for this part of the state. You've heard me say before that we have 3 districts in the Transportation Commission, and we're called the 3rd District in North Mississippi. A lobbyist recently told me he wished me the best of luck in the 4th District. I said, thank God we only have 3, but if we had 4, it'd be my part of the state. It's time to have a champion that puts us at the head of the table, not at the back of the line when it comes to transportation infrastructure. And my long-term working relationship with the next Lieutenant Governor will ensure that we're at the head of the table. Thank you.
As a retired Army officer, combat engineer, as a former special assistant to the United States Senator in Washington working on the Hill on transportation issues, as the youngest political advisor in recent Mississippi political history to the governor of Mississippi on these same issues. That's my public side. I think I'm well versed to do this. My relationships with the folks in government are somewhat deep too. Having been around Republican politics like many of you for the past 2 decades, I've built friends up. I've got friends in the legislature. I've got friends in state offices that I've supported. And they know my Republican credentials. And they trust me. And having been in the private sector, I can tell you, I know what the business community wants. I think I can take my energy, my dutiful but aggressive approach and try to make things happen.
Thank you. You know, one of the hardest things we do on the campaign trail is not ask for money, when people always think that's the hard part. The hardest part is telling about ourselves, which is what the question was. What I can bring to the table, something I haven't heard tonight yet: conservative, experience, leadership. I'm the most conservative candidate in this race. I'm the most experienced candidate in this race when it comes to building roads, contracting for roads, fixing roads. And I've got the most experience. 32 years in the Marine Corps goes a long way. But I'm not running to be a Marine Colonel. I'm running to be Transportation Commissioner of Northern District. But to do that, I need to get elected, and I need your vote to do that. So I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
This is the last round robin question, not the last question, but the last round robin question. And Jeffrey, you get to start with this one. Highway 30, as it goes in front of the hospital here and crosses over I-22, is one of the most congested roadways in our area. There are plans that are already in the initial stages of design to deal with this problem. What steps would you take to make this needed update possible in Union County?
Thank you, Dr. Dees. Well, I don't want to speak out of school. I have no idea where it is on the priority level for the state. But obviously, it's a huge issue. I was just talking with Dr. Mason, who was here a few minutes ago, and he was telling me about something similar about dealing with the hospital. And I had a conversation earlier with somebody in Tupelo talking about the egress off of 40. There's a lot of problems, and there's a lot of needs, and it all goes down to funding. Certainly, living next door to Union County, being from Lafayette County, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and I will make that a priority, of course. But I'm not going to say it's going to be at the very top because I don't know what else is out there, because we have a lot more. As we go through this, we have a lot more questions than we do answers. But it certainly is a priority, especially when it deals with around the medical complex.
John.
It goes back to relationships. We do need to work with local government, the mayors, the supervisors. We need to work with private enterprise. I'm going to go back to the original comments I made about listening. We need to listen before we can do anything. I don't think we need to just jump on. I don't know that engineering plan is the right engineering plan. I've had some engineers do some things when I was a county supervisor that we just had to punt. And so I haven't seen the plans. So first thing I would do is start listening and listening to you, listening to the local people and local government. And if we got the right solution on the table, then we got to put it to work and get it fixed.
I think the first thing to take into account is that interchange is a very complex interchange. 2 on-off ramps, 2 roads that enter into it in a very short distance. So it's going to be a very tricky situation to resolve. But I can tell you that when it comes to public safety, that's my top priority in every community in the 33 counties of North Mississippi, public safety. And so is this project one that would enhance public safety if we can resolve it? Absolutely it is. Moving traffic in the mornings and in the afternoons in particular for folks that are going to and from work every day is vital to the life of the folks here and certainly to safety. But I'll tell you one that I think is just as important, and that is, and I've talked about it every time I'm here, and that is getting a bridge over the Glenfield exit over the railroad tracks to connect the north part of town to the south part of town, because we've got to look after the safety of our school kids at elementary school and factory workers. It's only a matter of time before disaster happens if we don't find a way to connect this town.
And the last question for this group, and this is a single question, so it's just basically 30 seconds to a minute to answer this. And I save what probably is maybe the most controversial to the very end. And John, you get to start. We're back to you. Single question. Would you support an increase in the gas tax to deal with infrastructure needs? And if so, should this be indexed to inflation on a go-forward basis?
30 seconds.
Stop talking about a gas tax. We're way ahead of ourselves. I haven't seen the list of roads that justifies the gas tax. There's a county in North Mississippi that's got 0 roads on the unfunded list. 0 roads. How many counties have 2 interstates running through it and about 7 state highways running through it that need 0 roads fixed? That's ridiculous. We need to start looking at the list of what needs to be done and take care of this entire northern district, and then we can talk about how we fund it.
It's conservative when your roof is leaking to replace the roof, not let your house fall down. It's conservative when you have billions of dollars invested in tangible transportation infrastructure and it's crumbling to invest in that tangible infrastructure. So to me, the question is not whether or not we need more revenue for transportation infrastructure. I think that is an absolute yes, and everybody can agree on that. The question to be resolved here is how do we raise it? I want to do what's fairest to the taxpayers as a whole and bring together a coalition of bright-minded people to find that solution.
You have $335 million worth of transportation infrastructure needs every year. Every year. You have 18.4% that came out of the 1987 AHEAD program. It was not indexed. So you're taking care of roads today with bigger cars, faster cars, more miles to the gallon with 1987 money. All options are on the table. All options are on the table. Bring back the seawall tax, I don't care, but all options are on the table. And everything's got to be considered.
Let's give them a round of applause. We're going to change this up a little bit because we had a couple of cancellations, and I'm actually going to ask David McRae and Andy Taggart to come up and take the 2 chairs furthest to the left, and I'm going to come sit down next to you. We're going to have a little conversation about the Attorney General's office and the State Treasurer's office.
I'm fine.
You guys get it easy. You're not head-to-head with anybody, so it's just simple questions and almost like a fireside chat here. Nice socks, by the way. I like the. There we go.
I am wearing socks.
Okay, well, there we go. I wasn't going to go there, Andy, but since we both pronounce, the only 2 people that pronounce Jeffrey's name right, I couldn't expect anything less. David, we're actually going to start with you. And Ms. Nancy, with these questions, what we'll do is we'll say a minute or 2. If he goes over 2 minutes, then you can jump up and fuss at it, but he may not go that long. Although this
have me all the time anyway.
Although this first one may take you a second. The question is, PERS is reported to only be about 80% funded. How do you propose to solve this underfunding And would you consider moving from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution model for those new to state government employment?
Well, first and foremost, a little education on the treasurer's involvement with PERS. The treasurer is a sitting member of the PERS board, so they do consult with PERS when they have meetings. Think about the question. Regarding PERS, repeat the question, I'm sorry.
It's 80% funded, and how do you propose to solve the underfunding?
Okay. So first and foremost, with PERS, the members who are in PERS today deserve what they are owed. They started working in government, they're owed the contract that we agreed when they put the retirement money into PERS. I believe they should. They could easily step out of state government, work in the private sector, and make more, but we've decided to give them a great retirement package, so they are owed what they have put into PERS. I am in favor of another type of plan in terms of the new members coming in. The 20-somethings, the people coming out of college. The current rate of PERS is unattainable. It needs to be fixed, and we need to look at the investments in which we are invested in with PERS to make sure they are making the best rate of return possible.
So we'll switch this a little bit, and Andy, the first question for you is, concerns have been raised that cases with very large attorney fees under the current and previous attorney generals have been assigned out on contingency basis to friends of the office holders and have resulted in less money coming to Mississippi taxpayers. How will you as Attorney General assure voters that cases are not piggy banks for outside law firms?
I'm running for Attorney General, to be clear, and David is not my opponent in this race. This is a very important question, and one that I get almost everywhere I go, Dr. Deese, and I would say a couple of things about it. One is, when Phil Bryant was state auditor before he was governor, he hired me to work with him to recover the illegal attorney's fees arising out of the WorldCom tax case that a lot of you all will remember. So I've already been in the fight, but I think that what I would say is, in those circumstances in which the Attorney General determines that it's necessary to hire outside counsel, which I think should be rare, should not be the rule, but when it's necessary, it should be by RFP, go to the public, to law firms around the state and say, explain to me why your firm is best suited to represent the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi in this particular piece of litigation, not to get the lowest bidder, but to get the best firm best suited to best serve the taxpayers in that case.
So, David, what opportunities do you see to allow state government to function more efficiently?
Well, to function more efficiently, we need more transparency. We need to see, y'all need to be able to see what we're doing with the state's money. Right now, anyone who's a member of PERS or as part of the college savings program, look on your report and see who's managing your money. It's not on there. So what I want to do as state treasurer is to make it more transparent for you all to see who is currently managing your money, the rate of return you're getting with those managers, and making sure that those managers are performing to my expectations, which is y'all's expectations. And if they're not, we're going to get rid of them and we're going to hire new managers. So that will help us be more efficient. Y'all will be able to call in and say, David, these managers, we're looking at our new PERS report, we're looking at our college savings report. They're not returning anything, they're losing money. Why are you keep having them? So I want y'all to be more involved with state government and the state treasurer's office going forward.
Andy, the current Mississippi state flag has been shrouded in controversy. Share your thoughts on the current Mississippi state flag, and if you think that a change is in order, should it return to the voters for a decision, or should this be acted upon by the legislature?
I've made no secret of the fact that it's my judgment that our current state flag ought to be retired to our brand new Museum of Mississippi History. My judgment is that it's a snapshot of an unattractive part of our past, and it does not accurately reflect the Mississippi of today or the Mississippi of the future. A lot of folks think that leadership is just doing what people want them to do. I think leadership is helping people do what we ought to do, and in my judgment, that's a step that we ought to take for the future of our state. My personal judgment is that that's a decision that ought to be made by the legislature. People disagree strongly with me about that, and what I'd say is fine. If it's something that ought to go to the voters, then let's do it again. The last time we sent this to the voters was 2001. That's 18 years ago. We've elected presidents 4 times since then. We've had an entire generation of voters come into existence, not just become old enough to vote, but come into existence since we last voted on the flag. And my judgment is we ought to have leadership that's as passionate about Mississippi's future as some people seem to be about our past.
David, Senate Bill 2141 established the Mississippi Lottery. As the treasurer of the state, describe how you plan to be involved to ensure appropriate accounting and disbursement of funds to comply with the legislation.
Well, again, this goes back to the second question we just asked. We need more transparency. We need to see that the money is being allocated correctly. I believe the legislature set up, people in the legislature here can correct me, but 80 million goes to one part, and then after 80 million, it goes somewhere else. But we need to make sure that that is going where we have said it's going, and then after 10 years, I believe it goes into the general fund. But when it's going with the 80 million going in one direction, and after that going another direction, we just need to make sure that the people know that it is being allocated to the right places.
And lastly, Andy, with the current opioid epidemic, how would you ensure that Mississippi drug courts are funded and function appropriately?
Many of you know my family's personal story. We lost our youngest son at age 21 to suicide after a year of drug use. And so my wife and I are steely-eyed in our resolve that the gravest danger that is faced by our communities in this state is the scourge of drugs. There are plenty of other crimes that must be investigated and prosecuted, but the primary danger, the gravest ill that we face, is the poisoning of our kids by predators who don't care what happens to our kids. I'm a big proponent of the drug courts. I believe that they ought to be funded statewide because I believe there's a big difference between predators and victims. The predators who are trying to hurt us and peddle the poison to our kids need to be put in jail and left there. The victims who have seen their lives spin out of control by substance abuse need to be redeemed and rehabilitated and restored into our communities, and the drug courts are successful in doing that.
Let's give both of these guys a big round of applause. Guys, I did save all the hard questions for the last group, just so you're aware.
I don't think so.
What we'll allow you to do first is introduce yourself. Tell us who you're from. And guys, I apologize. I didn't start that with you. That's my bad. We'll back up and do that at the end. My apologies. If you would introduce yourself, tell us why you're running for governor, and if you have any unique Union County ties.
I'm Bill Waller, and Republican nomination for governor. The reason is we have some issues that we need to deal with, and that's education, both vocational and teacher pay. The second is health care. Got to have strong hospitals. The third is roads and infrastructure. My skill set is 21 years on the Supreme Court, the last 10 as Chief Justice, head of a branch of government, dealing with appropriations, dealing with elected officials from coast to coast and border to border. 29 years in the National Guard. When the tornado comes through, the hurricane blows, I realize what we need to do with those assets. And also being 20 years in private law practice. My ties with Union County are good. I was, there's Sergeant Ray Tate is here from the Troop C. I was in the 1st 108th Armored Cav for 20 years. New Albany here was part of that, is C Troop. And so got great associations. I was on the brigade staff at Tupelo. William French with Florist here was a member of that. So I have many, many friends, and also my wife is from Alcorn County. I passed through that bad intersection at 30 in front of the hospital every month, a couple of times a month for years and years. So I'm personally familiar with that. But this is a great place. I think a treasure of Mississippi. I've ridden on the bike trail here. So this is a great place, and I'm privileged to be here. And I think those assets would be useful for the state.
Thank you for having me here this evening. My name is Robert Foster, and I am a small business owner and farmer from Hernando. And for the last 14 years, I have been building a business really from the ground up. It's a business that my mother got the foundation started, and I added in a lot of different unique aspects to that business. We have a U-Pick operation, we have pumpkin patch and corn maze that we're best known for, a Choose and Cut Christmas tree farm, and an event facility. And I guess the tie I would have to Union County is I know there have been a lot of school children and a lot of families that have come to our farm now for over 20 years. And especially the last 14, we have started drawing in quite a crowd over there. We've had over 50,000 visitors now per fall just during our pumpkin patch and corn maze season. And during those 14 years, my experience that I believe that I bring that is unique to this governor's race is I have run a business with over 100 employees, and I've listened to all of their concerns that they face, and I've been listening to all of the concerns of the people of Mississippi all over the state the last almost 7 months that I've been on the road. And I have developed a few ideas that I believe will help our state move forward. And the biggest thing I think that we need in this state is to put someone in office in charge of our state that has a vision and has a plan to help get our state's economy growing, because we have tremendous potential in this state. And we are holding ourselves back with the policies that we have in place in Jackson, because there have been those that have been refusing to change our economic policies, and they've been holding us back for far too long, and it's time for the people of Mississippi to reach their full potential.
Now the fun starts. First question, Mr. Waller, you'll have 2 minutes to answer this, and then Robert, you'll have a minute to respond or to address the question. And the first question is this: New Albany and Union County enjoy quality public schools with excellent community support. As governor, how will you ensure that quality schools are not harmed by an obvious need to reform underperforming districts?
I've met with Ken Basel. I've been here. I understand what the issues are. My number one priority is to move the teacher pay up from last in the nation, and do that every year. My focus is going to be on empowering the local school districts, and we would ensure that good schools like we have in New Albany and Union County are funded adequately, and that they're measured against what they can do and not against underperforming districts as a separate category.
Thank you. Education is one of the pillars of my platform. I have 2 children in public schools now, and I see it so different than some of the others that are in Jackson fighting constantly over where they get their education, when to me the most important question is what type of education we're giving them. And we're not giving them the opportunity to learn a skill set that allows them to earn a living outside of high school. We have put everybody on this one-track path to college that has been an absolute failure for almost 2 generations now, because everybody's not meant to go to college. We need to put VOTEC back into every single school in this state, and we need to get a new MDE director that has the vision and the values of Mississippi, and that does not make $300,000 a year. That would be a great start to get our state moving in the right direction.
Mississippi hospitals, particularly rural hospitals, are struggling to survive. Some have said that Medicaid expansion as proposed by the Affordable Care Act is the solution. Do you share this thought, or do you propose a unique Mississippi solution using the waiver authorities to meet the healthcare needs of our citizens? And Robert, this one goes to you first.
So, in order to talk about where we need to go with healthcare, we first need to talk about where we are with healthcare in Mississippi. We have one of the worst healthcare systems in the United States of America. We have a combination of what I like to call crony capitalism, and then we have a lot of socialized medicine, because we have one of the highest percentages of people on Medicaid in the entire United States of America. What we have to realize is that we are a very poor state, and we have to find a solution for the 300,000 some odd people in our state that work. They pay taxes. And they're paying taxes for people to have health care that are not working. And to me, that is an immoral thing to do to them, that we tell them, you pay taxes, they don't work, and then you don't get any kind of coverage. Your only option is to go to the emergency room when you get sick. And that's what they're doing now in Mississippi. They're going to the emergency room because they have no way to afford $1,000 to $1,200 a month for their family to have health care coverage. So they end up in the emergency room, they get a bill that bankrupts their family, it's bankrupting the hospitals, and the taxpayers of Mississippi are still paying for it, just out of a different pocket. And we want to act as if that's not any better than allowing them to pay in a monthly premium. Because I don't like Obamacare. I cannot stand the federal government intruding into the healthcare system. But the reality of the situation is that the federal government has intruded into it, and they're not going to change Medicaid anytime in the near future. So we have to work within the system they have handed us for the betterment of the working people of our state. The working people are the ones that I want to try to help. Thank you.
I have met with the medical staff here. I met with Mr. Walter Grace, who's the administrator of the hospital. I met with the North Mississippi Medical Center. Our hospitals are at dangerous levels. I've seen the Moody ratings downgraded for the hospitals here in New Albany and Tupelo. We have to look for solutions. We have to look for waivers, anything we can do. But I think that conservatives like Mike Pence from Indiana had a good plan for Medicaid reform. We need to incentivize people and not discourage people from entering the workforce. And so everything's on the table, but you cannot have a healthy community if you don't have a healthy hospital like you have in New Albany, and I'm for healthy hospitals.
Trying to decide where to go next. Let's see. There are reports of young professionals leaving Mississippi at a rate that leads the nation. How would you address this?
Well, in my platform, start with education. If we shouldn't have teachers driving to Memphis because they can make $5,000 or $6,000 more, we have to pay our teachers adequate salaries. And we've got over 1,000 teacher shortages right now in Mississippi, over 1,000. And the teachers that have overcrowded students, I think that increasing the pay, looking at tuition assistance for people, encouraging people, I think that's going to save some people. Jobs, career for high school students. I think if we can specifically train high school students for jobs, I think that's opportunities here. Road construction. Almost 100% of road construction stays in the community. I've been on the job and seen road construction. The equipment's purchased here, all the employees here. I think we could see an economic revolution in Mississippi. I think we can see opportunities for our young people to stay here. If we just have a little work and a little attention to detail, I think we can see some big changes.
To me, I think the vision going forward is a long-term solution for our economy, and that's why we're losing all of our young people to states like Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. They have very strong economies, so therefore they have better paying jobs and better opportunities. I believe that our tax structure is the biggest fault of that, because we have one of the worst rated tax structures for business and free industry in the United States of America. We're currently ranked 31 of 50, with 50 being the worst. We're down there with California, New York, and New Jersey. And a big reason for that is that we have a personal income tax in Mississippi. Those three states do not. Tennessee, Texas, and Florida do not have personal income tax. We overtax the working people of our state, and we overtax successful people, to the point that when people become successful in business, they leave. And they move their businesses to those three states a lot of times, and some others, because they're being taxed at a much less rate. We need to move to a use tax-based economy, just like in those three states, where everybody in the economy, whether you're living off the federal government, whether you're illegal and hadn't got caught, or whether you're passing through as a tourist, pays their fair share at the gas pump and the store.
The state auditor released findings that administrative costs in education in Mississippi have outpaced enrollment and teacher pay raises. Additionally, the state superintendent of education is the highest paid leader in the country. Please tell us how you would address these issues as governor.
Well, first and foremost, I want to start with the teachers. We have the lowest paid teachers in the nation. We have to ramp that up. That's a state responsibility. The administrative costs at the auditor weren't adjusted for inflation. They deal with federal grants. They've got local money that they place in there. Certainly, we need to have caps. We need to look at the administrative costs, but we need to compare apples and oranges. What I think we should do is, when I'm governor, we're going to call as a priority teacher pay first. I'm going to put a commission together, because I think we need to redo the Department of Education. The focus is totally wrong. A academic curriculum for 100% of the students is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. We need to have career choices in the high school. We need a superintendent of education that makes money commensurate with what Ken Basil makes here. It's ridiculous to have the highest paid superintendent in the nation and the lowest paid teachers. So I think we're in order for a redo. I think we need a re-examination of what the State Department does. We need to get the assessment test out of there. About $110 million is spent on those tests, and they don't evaluate anything. You cannot see what New Albany's doing with any other state. We need there's off-the-shelf models that can provide the accountability and the assessment that we need, and we can save a lot of money, like $110 million that we can pay a lot of teachers with. So that's my position. Teacher pay immediately, revamp the Department of Education.
Thank you. There's a few things that we have to do that are major hurdles in education. One of those being we have to rewrite our educational funding formula. The MAEP funding formula is a very bad and poorly written formula that encourages upper-end administrative overpaying of administrators. We need to rewrite a formula that is a student-based funding formula. The House actually passed a bill to do that 2 years ago, and we had complete and utter failure of leadership on the Senate side, and they allowed that bill to die by just a few votes because there was no communication on that end of the state legislature. And so that has to be done before we can do anything else moving forward in education. Is we have to write a student-based funding formula that gives schools a budget to work with. And then testing is absolutely a major issue for our teachers in retainment. We have ruined the teaching profession by forcing them to teach to a test, and is ruining our students' education. And we've got to get back to the basics of allowing teachers to teach students a career opportunities so they can earn a job and career with.
So Robert, this question goes to you to start. And we've talked about this a little bit at the very beginning. Many roads and bridges in Mississippi are in conditions that are not safe. It's been over 30 years since we've had significant infrastructure bill. Please share your plans to fix Mississippi roads and bridges going forward.
So we need to repeal the personal income tax. We have to do that. We have to get Mississippi on a level playing field where working people are not overtaxed. And as part of that plan, we moved to a use tax-based economy, which means it's based on gas taxes, sales taxes. And that is how we have the revenue, because we have everybody in the state paying. The more they use, the more they pay. The more you drive, the more you pay. The more stuff you buy, the more you pay. And so it is a fairer way to tax. It's a more conservative way to tax, and it will provide us with the revenue that we're always behind on in Mississippi. We're never going to be able to do all the things that we need to do in our state. We're never going to get our roads and bridges fixed. We're not going to be able to fund education the way we want to. Our police stations, our fire stations, our Department of Mental Health, everything that is crumbling before our very eyes is because we have the wrong type of tax structure. It puts us at a huge disadvantage to all the states around us, and we are never going to reach our full potential until we restructure from an income tax-based economy to a use tax-based economy. That will solve our funding problems if we do that.
We have in Mississippi 400 bridges needing replacement right now, over 5,000 miles of highway. Right here in Union County, you've got 5 state bridges that are posted. You've got 9 bridges that are closed and 20 that are posted. This is going to take some serious attention, and it's going to take more than the lottery if that ever comes funded. And my guess is it's going to yield a lot less money than people are projecting, and it goes away in now 9 years. We're already 1 year into it. That's not a funding source that you build roads with. Ronald Reagan says that use taxes with fuel is the fairest thing you can do. He said that in 1982. He doesn't add a penny to your income tax. He doesn't add a penny to the national debt. We're going to have to look at some realistic solutions to address our road needs. And the other thing is, what was done in the special session, the out-of-state drivers are scot-free, and they need to pay like everybody else because our roads are important. Thank you.
One of the issues that the next governor may have to deal with is the results of the Olivia Weiss lawsuit related to children in foster care. We're back in court again over that, and it looks like that there will be many challenges associated with that because we've not met the things that were in the original consent decree associated with that. Share a little bit about your vision for dealing with the foster care issue. And Bill, you go first. Okay.
I'm familiar with the foster care issue from the court situation. We have tried to address that. I've worked with Jacqueline Mask here in the 1st District. Part of the issue is that every child needs a chance, and a lot of these children in foster care need to have permanent homes, so we need to move that piece. Now, part of the problem with Olivia Y is everybody agreed on what we were supposed to do. You have to have so many social workers per child. Now, these are people, if you stay with it, these are abused and neglected children. Okay, everybody with me? That's what Child Protective Services addresses. And so everybody agreed you have so many children per social worker. Well, we didn't fund that. So that's a large part of the reason we are right now is we didn't agree, the state of Mississippi didn't agree with what the consent decree was, what the state of Mississippi agreed to do. So I think the simple solution is, let's just step up to the table, let's hire what we need to hire, let's make sure every child has a chance, and that's what I want to do.
Again, a lot of our problems in Mississippi fall back on lack of revenue to fix the problems we have with the issue facing us, that if we raise taxes on the working people, we're going to be in an even worse position down the road because they're going to continue to leave even quicker than they are now from our state. And so we have to move, and this solves a lot of our problems. When we get the tax structure right, and we get from the bottom 20 to the top 20, in business friendliness tax structure and get the right type of revenue stream from an income tax to a use tax, we have a tremendous amount of people living in poverty in Mississippi. They don't pay income tax, but they're using our child services, they're using our health departments, they're using our schools, they're using all of the services, in a lot of cases more so than the people that are paying all the taxes. And so they receive a federal check every month. They get a lot of money. But they're not contributing to all of the things that they use every day. So it's a chicken and egg scenario. Is it better to have an income tax on just the working people and continue to run them out of our state, or have a use tax-based economy that makes everybody pay their fair share, where we have the money to fix all the issues we have?
Ms. Sue, it looks like you have one question. So this question is actually for Robert. Do you know what level sales taxes would need to be to replace the revenue currently generated by income taxes?
So you would need to be looking at around the 8 to 10% mark on 8 to 10 cent mark on gas tax to repeal a big portion of our income tax, the 4% bracket. And then the 5% bracket would be around 2%, which would put us around 9%, in line with Tennessee and Texas and Florida and other states that are competing with us. The average amount of taxation would actually be less on the working people of our state. And it would actually put us in a position to be able to compete economically with them long term and have the money that we need to fund all of the things that we're constantly underfunded in Mississippi. The more you buy, the more you pay. The more you drive, the more you pay. But everybody in the economy would be paying their fair share. And there's a lot of exemptions over the years that have been put on the table because we have had such a high tax rate on our working people that need to be put on that table as part of the conversation, such as grocery tax. We could potentially reduce the grocery tax to help offset the people that are on fixed incomes and give our local, state, and county governments a percentage of those revenues so that they have something other than just property taxes to help fund their local infrastructure problems. That's the other issue Mississippi faces. The only stream of revenue that county governments have to fix roads and bridges and infrastructure is your property taxes. If you don't pay your property taxes, they take your home. But you can choose to carpool with somebody. You can choose to have a more energy efficient car. You can choose to go out to eat less or buy less products and live on a fixed income that way much easier than you can not paying your property taxes, which means you lose your home. So it's a better way of taxation. It's a more conservative way of taxation, and it will move us from the bottom 20 being the most taxed in the nation to the top 20 being a much less taxed overall percentage on the working people and the people that we need to bring in to grow our economy.
Bill?
I'm a conservative, and I think that we need to be mindful of raising taxes in any form. As I conceive the road project using user fees, I see a tax swap so that we have a neutral benefit on people so that we're not raising taxes. And by that, I mean either taking away the 4% bracket on income tax, or perhaps reducing sales tax on groceries, or perhaps on tax. I think what I see us doing is in growing with the three-tiered program I have, is growing the economy. And if we have to raise, let's say, use taxes on fuel, let's do a tax swap. And I think that's the more realistic way to approach to it.
Gentlemen, thank you. I'm going to actually switch a little bit here and give you each a couple of minutes for closing remarks.
It's great to be back with the people of Union County, New Albany, Mississippi, and I think that my experience, particularly the last 10 years as Chief Justice, head of a branch of government, I think is someone that is ready to prepare budgets, to meet with people, and I think that's a qualifier. I think it's unique. I think my experience in the National Guard with people right here in Union County, I think is also know on-the-job training. I know what to do. I know how to meet with the first responders. As a justice for 21 years, working with the crime lab to make sure we've got timely reports, autopsies. I've met with John Dowdy at MBM. I understand what we need to do. That President Trump's call for. We got to close the border because that's where everything. So I understand those pieces. And then my 20 years in private law practice has been helpful. So Bill Waller for governor. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to close with this and say that the last 14 years, I have had the experience of running a business and learning firsthand how government can get in the way of a business growing and what needs to be done to help our economy grow. I have an outsider's perspective of that, of living out in the real world and actually going through those trials and errors myself. I didn't invent all the things that I do in my business. I didn't invent any of them, but what I did do is go to people that were experts in all the different aspects of my business, and I learned from them so that I didn't have to repeat all of the mistakes that they had already made. We need to do the same thing in our state government. We can look at states around us that are doing things much better economically than us and see what works there, what makes their economy so much stronger than us, and just copy it. And that is why my proposal on our tax swap to move us away from from an income tax-based economy to use tax-based economy will work, because we can look at the states where it is working. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We need to have a plan. We need to have somebody that understands how to get it done in Jackson. The last 4 years I've spent as a legislator, I know the process, I know how to get things accomplished, and I have a plan that I believe will really help us long-term grow our state's economy. And the last thing I want to say is this. I ran at this point in my career, and everybody wants to know why now. Why not wait 8 years, 16 years, 20 years until you have better political position, more political capital? I wanted to run now while I have the passion to fight for the people of our state, because I know what needs to be done. And we can make all the promises we want, but we're never going to get there until we fix our economy, and our tax structure is the underlying problem. And I wanted to run also while I don't owe anybody any favors. I haven't made any promises to anybody except this one that I'll make to you here tonight, that if you will honor me with your vote on August 6th in the Republican primary for governor, that I will put God first in everything that I do, and I will do it as in the best interest of all Mississippians. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. You're welcome to stay here. Just because I forgot to do this, and I apologize, I'm going to let Andy and David introduce themselves and tell them why they're running and any unique ties to Union County.
This is tough duty. This is like being the last person to speak before lunch, right? But this will be very brief, I promise you. My name is Andy Taggart. I'm running for Attorney General for two key reasons. One is the Attorney General is the top law enforcement official of our state, and I believe the gravest danger that we face, as I talked about earlier, is the scourge of drugs. It is destroying our families, and it is destroying our communities, and until we get serious about it, not at the local level, local law enforcement is very serious about it. We are not serious about it at the state level. Until we get serious about it at the state level, we are not going to turn the corner. Secondly, the Attorney General is your top lawyer. In the last 24 months, it's been my privilege to argue before the Mississippi Supreme Court, before the Mississippi Court of Appeals, and before the United States District Court in Jackson. Those are the three courts before whom the Attorney General must appear most frequently. It distinguishes me from the other candidates in this race. But also consider the decisions that have been made by some of our top Republican elected officials when they had to hire counsel. Kirk Fordyce needed a chief of staff and a counsel, he hired me. When Haley Barber needed a lawyer to go argue in favor of voter ID at the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans, he hired me. When Phil Bryant needed somebody to help recover the illegal attorney's fees arising out of the WorldCom tax case, he hired me. And on the heels of the awful Department of Corrections scandal where our corrections commissioner stole $1 million that we know about, Phil Bryant asked me to co-chair the task force whose job it was to make recommendations to the legislature to see that that never happens again. So Kirk Fordyce and Haley Barber and Auditor Phil Bryant and Governor Phil Bryant thought that I would do as a lawyer to represent your interests. I ask that you consider whether that might be the same decision you reach on August the 6th. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Doctor.
I really am going to be the last person before we go. So, I don't want to stand in front of y'all. So, I'm David McCrae, run for State Treasurer, and I'm going to keep this brief. When you commonly think of the State Treasurer's office, you think of the college savings and unclaimed property. Well, that's two important functions, but equally as important are the investments and the bond and credit rating. Now, as managing partner of McCrae Investments, I deal with Wall Street on a daily basis. I know how to handle Wall Street, I know their tricks, I know their games, but most importantly, I know who to call in New York, and I also know how to take advantage of Wall Street. So if I'm elected as your state treasurer, there are 4 things I want to accomplish. 1, I want to look at our investments from the top down and make sure they make good sense and a good return for our investment, or our money. Look at the national economy today. We're at 26,000 points, 700 and some numbers after that. It's very impressive. 8 years ago, under President Obama, we were at 15,000 points. And they kept saying the economy's going to grow. Never grew. But under President Trump, an outsider business person like myself, the national economy has grown. There is no reason in my mind that the Mississippi's economy and our investments shouldn't be taking advantage of a national economy, strong national economy while we have the chance. Not going to stay that way forever. We need to take advantage of it today. Second, like I said earlier up here, efficiency and transparency. We need to, as on the state treasurer's website, I'm going to have it where you see our manager and see what our money's doing on a daily and quarterly basis. Customer service. As part of the McCrae department store family, customer service was our #1 priority. I'm going to bring that back to state government. I know some of y'all have had some experience with state government, and it may not have been a very good experience. But if you call the state treasurer's office, my employees will be educated on the issues and know everything that you're calling about. And finally, I know I'm up, sorry, but I'm going to go one little further. And finally, our bond and economic incentive packages must make sense. And what I mean by that is, if we're giving away taxpayer dollars, your money, the companies that are coming to Mississippi must hire Mississippians. That is first and foremost in my mind if I'm able to give out bonds as your next state treasurer. On August 6th, vote for David McCrae. I'm currently endorsed by 30 Trump County chairmen and women, as well as Governor Phil Bryant, and I appreciate your support on August 6th.
Let's give all of our candidates another round of applause. And I'm going to take just a moment of personal privilege and say, let's give the Union County Republican women a round of applause.